We see ourselves broadly as an ecosystem partner, and part of that is discovering opportunity and discovering solutions for those opportunities. The way that we think about it is we want to be providing incremental value in the discovery of new products, services, companies to our partners. Hi, this is Chris Luiz from Scout, and this is the future of insurance.
Chris, it's good to have you on and talk about something we've sort of talked about before in the past when it was under a different name, but times have changed, and very excited to have you on and share a little bit. So welcome and thanks for joining me.
Yeah, Brian, thanks so much, man. Super happy to be here and excited to chat.
So tell everyone a little bit about you, just to set the stage, and then let's get into Scout.
Yeah, you bet. So I've not been in insurance as long as many of the folks that I meet and talk to. Perhaps I don't think as long as you. It's been about 10 years. Prior to that, I was a scientist, and I used to commercialize technology out of the U.S. Energy Lab. So the reason that I bring this up is that my whole career, I've also founded a couple companies and closed them, but my whole career has been about finding interesting technology and figuring it out how to bring it to market in a way that benefits those that are using it. And now here at Scout, I've come on as CEO to do just that in the insurance industry, and I'm super excited to be able to do that.
Well, thank you for the background. And I said something we sort of talked about before. I had Andrew and Mike on years ago in the early days of InsurTech Ohio, talking about what they were building, and that's sort of what's evolved into Scout, right? Like there is no InsurTech Ohio explicitly anymore, or is there still sort of, and Scout's separate, or tell us about that.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, great question. So the background with InsurTech Ohio, I think it's probably been about 6 years. We started off this is before my time with Andrew and Mike, really having happy hours, buying people drinks and putting them together to have conversations and build relationships. And while that was really exciting, we recognized a need and a want in the community for a little bit more than that. So we've evolved from having those in Columbus at the beginning of the time of InsurTech Ohio to growing into Cleveland and Cincinnati. We're having those group meetings now in Detroit, and we will be doing them in Chicago, and we'll be growing from there. So those have evolved a little bit to be more of mastermind group meetings where you sit around and we talk about a topic that's relevant. They're typically industry leaders that sit around the table. I really enjoy going to them. And while I live in Cleveland, I belong to the Columbus group. I visit the Detroit group, and I'll be a regular member of the Chicago group as well. And so to the question of the brand, InsurTech Ohio, as we've grown out of the state, the InsurTech Ohio brand, we wanted to not shake off, but we needed something larger than that. And Scout was what we chose. The brand remains in Ohio for institutions that are doing business in insurance in Ohio as a pseudo trade organization. Pseudo in that I'm not going to apply for a 501c3 designation, and it'll be a part of us, but we're not looking to, run commercial things through it. It's just for the sake and benefit of the community.
Okay, so if old people like me say InsurTech Ohio from time to time, people there at least will be a thing that people wouldn't be like, wait, I've never heard of such a thing.
That's right. Yeah, all of our partners in Ohio will still be a part of InsurTech Ohio as well. But we'll be doing most of our programming, our startup program, our conference, and other events under the Scout brand.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about Scout then, and what it is, and kind of the mission and the ways that you'll be working on that.
Yeah, so there's a couple elements to it. The first I spoke about a little bit there. It's the private paid membership communities in all of those cities. And the goal of those communities is to really be there for the sake of themselves, to help recognize the people that are acting and want to be present and building things out in the open in those individual cities. Every community that we stand up, we help them throw 100 to 150 person event in that city that year that it starts and every year moving forward. We help them with the operational stuff of organizing it, but really it's about them. Of course, we're going to come and participate, but you know this very well. There's a lot of conferences. We see a lot of the same people at conferences. There's a lot more people in insurance that don't get to travel. And this is an opportunity for people in those locations to engage with their community at a deeper level. So that's the first part. I guess as an event series that culminates into the conference, although the conference is more than that. We have a startup, like a defined startup program, I'd say, where we meet the founders, we talk to them about what they do in industry, what their companies are doing, how they're changing the industry or trying. We run a series of virtual showcases all year round, topical. So we may have a life and health showcase as an example, or a claim showcase. Those are available. Anybody that's interested in participating, drop me a note, and I would love to have you participate, including you, Brian. I think we've mentioned that before.
Yeah.
And we give these early stage companies the opportunity to get in front of a whole bunch of industry folks and ask questions and be asked questions about their product and their services. Some number of those end up on stage at the conference. I think we're going to put about 50 on stage at the conference this year across a number of showcases that are topically arranged as well. The idea there is to really provide a wide swath of companies that larger carriers and brokerages perhaps wouldn't be exposed to over time with several touch points. So we may show up to our events, you'll see them virtually, you see them at the conference, to be able to build a longer understanding of what they're doing and how they fit into the market and ecosystem. And that's like I said, those two things both culminate into the conference in Columbus, Ohio, and that'll be the 17th and 18th of June this year. And we're super excited. We're going to do a 2-day conference, and would love to see you and some of your listeners there.
Yeah. As you were describing kind of that opportunity for insurance companies and their partners to see some of the new stuff going on, and for the new stuff going on to be seen, it's really hitting me about the purpose behind the name.
Exactly.
I'm starting to get that then. It's almost like serving as that mechanism for the industry to scout in both directions.
Yeah, that's correct. We see ourselves broadly as an ecosystem partner, and part of that is discovering opportunity and discovering solutions for those opportunities. And that happens on both sides. So, we have the conversations with our carrier and brokerage partners about what their innovation goals over our period of time. And we have a lot of conversations with early stage companies, and they don't have to be early stage, but the way that we think about it is we want to be providing incremental value in the discovery of new products, services, companies to our partners. So if one thing that I say is, if you are already buying a city at ITC, it's probably pretty clear that the carriers know who you are. And I don't know how much incremental value I'm going to provide for you on my platform. But if you're a bigger company entering the US market from Europe, Asia, LATAM, Middle East, then that's a different story. It's less about stage than it is about the opportunity to demonstrate to a large group of folks in the industry what they're doing.
Yeah. InsurTech Ohio had built a really good community, people who were there for a lot of stuff. Michael and Andrew obviously were incredibly involved. Is that still the story with Scout? Is it, a lot of the same people are still standing by the organization and trying to support it going forward? Or is this, obviously, like, you're new to that equation, but you were involved with InsurTech Ohio before. So is it new folks? Is it a continuation and a building?
It's a continuation and building. Yeah. So prior to me coming on as CEO, myself, Andrew, and Mike were all executive leadership at other InsurTech startups.
Yeah.
So to say that the work, it was a stretch, would be correct to make that statement. So putting on the conference last year was quite a bit on top of our normal roles. I would say that they're still, they're involved. I talk to them every day. They're interviewing startups with me. We're talking to companies, but I'm doing most of it. So I'm probably 85%, and they're picking up the rest of it.
Yeah.
A couple part-time people too. And I made 2 hires, which is super exciting, that will be onboarding on Monday.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we weren't trying to record this on Monday and getting in the way of their starts.
Thank you.
If I want to get this from both sides of that startup carrier, or I shouldn't just say carrier, like there's lots of other folks who could benefit from the kind of scouting activity that you're facilitating for the ecosystem. Let's start with the startup side. If I'm a startup, how do I get engaged, involved, and kind of into the pipeline of getting that help and that support, or trying to qualify to get that?
Yeah, that's great. So the easiest way is to reach out to myself or somebody else. Look on LinkedIn, who's a part of Scout. Any of us can get you connected. We have initial conversation. And so the question will be, Well, we'll ask a bunch of questions about your business and what they're doing and what market they're serving, who their customers are, all of those things that we would want to understand well. But part of it is stage. So are you, as an example, I don't want to put a company that is not prepared to field inquiries from 3 top 10 carriers
Yeah.
concurrently in a position where they may have to do that or push somebody off. So we want to make sure that you can handle whatever inbound is going to be generated. And I'm not saying everybody gets that inbound, but
Yeah.
those are the folks that are on the call. They're the innovation teams and people at major carriers, brokerages, and companies like that. They're looking out into the industry specifically to understand or purchase technology. So the likelihood of those conversations is certainly there.
And if you're from that side, how would you get involved and be a part or get to benefit from that scouting activity and that kind of connection that's possible?
Yeah, so from the carrier brokerage, also VC side, it's the same type of deal. What we strongly believe in demonstrating the value to our partners before we talk about any paid partnership. So come and participate in a virtual showcase, have a conversation with me about how we drive value for our other partners and what we have available. If you want to take the slow route, which many do, come to the conference. It's going to be clear what we're doing and whether or not it's a fit for your innovation program, your venture program, strategy, corporate dev, corporate development.
And you can build from there.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to, make a bunch of introductions and you to be thrilled with the value, and then we have another conversation. That's great.
Yeah. That's something I know you and I have talked before, where there's a sort of notion of like, you need to do the right things, support the right kind of behaviors and activities, and support the system as a whole. And the financial side works out pretty well if you do that. But if you go in with like, no, you got to pay us or we're not going to talk to you, or it's fine. It's a model for some people, but it loses that sense of community and purpose. So I appreciate that still being a part of kind of the core of Scout as you guys build things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly where we are. It's I worked at a big carrier and I've brought things into a big carrier and I understand what that is. Like, where is the ROI? How do you show it today? Well, how do you show it over time, right? We want to make it easy for people to, frankly, I want them to say like, it is crazy for us not to decide to spend money with Scout. And whether that is just some tickets and showing up to the events or some deeper relationship, that's great. But that's what I'm going for.
Yeah. That's great. I know you're busy building something, growing something that's awesome. Thank you for taking some time and just to share a little bit about it, and hopefully bring some more eyeballs on Scout and some folks who come to the events and the virtual and in-person stuff and start to engage with the community more. So thank you, Chris, for taking some time.
Ryan, thanks so much for the opportunity. Big fan of yours. Read your books. You're a great. Your presence in the community generally is great, and I'm very happy to be here.
I appreciate the shameless plug. All right, take care.
Absolutely. You too.